Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to another episode of Comment, Foolery, Exposed. So, according to the Black female internet, artists like Amerie, Sade, Ashanti, Rihanna, pretty much anyone who benefits from an ism, they do not deserve careers. So, you guys saw that Amerie recently had a Tiny Desk performance, and I see that a whole bunch of Black women. And by the way, you would think that they would have some form of solidarity with Amerie, right? Because according to the talking points that they give Exoticals, all of us are just Black and being mixed doesn't matter and nobody cares if you're light skinned and your other side won't accept you. Okay, so if you truly believed all of that, why are you viewing Amerie as different and why are you not having that sisterhood with Amerie? So she went on Tiny Desk recently and she had like a performance. And I saw a whole bunch of Black women dragging her, basically saying that it was bad. So let's talk about Tiny Desk for a minute. First of all, to even get on Tiny Desk, you actually have to audition. So you don't just get to sign up and say, oh, hey, I used to be a singer or I'm an aspiring artist, I'm going to be on Tiny Desk. No, you actually have to have a whole band and you have to sing a cappella. You have to perform and submit a tape to Tiny Desk, and then they pick and choose who they want to go on their platform. So for the people who think Amerie is bad, well, I mean, she made it onto Tiny Desk. And with all the people over dramatizing her performance, they're like, oh my God, that was so bad. Amerie has had the same voice for 30 years. So I didn't hear unambiguous Black women saying the same thing 20 years ago. But now because there is a trend of trying to downplay MLS women as revenge for colorism, now we've got people suddenly saying, oh my God, she can't sing. And it's like, okay, if you believe that Amerie only got to where she is because of colorism, who are the colorists? Because the main people that were supporting her music were Black women. The main people that go to these women's concerts and buy the actual tickets, it's not men. It's actually not the male gaze that is the only thing that causes these women to be successful. Black women are the main ones buying the concert tickets to people like Amerie or Beyonce or Sierra, all of these female artists that people complain about, the main ones saying that she succeeded from colorism, well, I guess that makes you guys all colorists then, because you guys are the ones who were giving her your money. But this girl says, I'll never understand not being a strong vocalist and deciding to do a cappella performances. So apparently she is not a strong enough singer to be able to sing a cappella. And it's like, have you ever noticed that whenever there's a dark-skinned Black woman with average at best vocals, Normani, Amerie is no better than Normani. They're on the same level, okay? So whenever you have an unambiguous dark-skinned Black woman, it's, oh my God, her voice is so unique. Oh, well, she's a great dancer. Oh, well, she would be good for the pop industry. Oh, she has an alternative sound when it's an unambiguous woman. But suddenly when it's Amerie, then it's, oh, you're basically not a strong enough vocalist to do a cappella performances. And I find it interesting how random people on the internet, Everett Dixon, 8055, suddenly she's an expert on who deserves to sing a cappella and who doesn't. So suddenly she is a world-class vocal coach. She is now an expert on the music industry. And when it comes to music, it's like, okay, everybody doesn't have to sing like a 50-year-old church auntie in order to qualify to be a singer. Like, why is it that in the Black music industry, it's almost like you have to fit this stereotype? You have to be the most soulful, the most gospel. You have to sound like you eat the most fried chicken and collard greens more than anybody else. It's like, whose standard are you comparing Amerie's vocals to? Because I almost feel like sometimes people give this argument where they essentially don't sound Black enough, even though they don't want to admit that. I really feel like that's what it is, because whenever these women name vocalists that they do think sound the best, they're always naming women who have soulful voices that are more adjacent to African American culture. Okay, well, Amerie is not monoracially Black. So I think she's Blasian. So it's like, what if Amerie was influenced by Asian women singing or like, you know, some other culture of singing styles? What if she was doing opera or something when she was growing up? Why is it that every singer who is Black or Black adjacent has to sound like freaking Aretha Franklin? We all have to sound like we just stepped out of a Baptist church in order to be qualified as a good vocalist. So on the one hand, Black women don't want to be stereotyped, but on the other hand, if you don't sound soulful enough and strong enough, if you're not yelling and shouting and hooting and hollering, then you're not good enough. And it's like, which one is it? Do you want Black women to fit in the stereotype or not? Do you want them to be put in the same vocal boxes or not? This person says, I feel like I sing like that in the shower. Now, Sade, that's a career well earned. So now they're doing this triangulation tactic that they do with us all the time. Have you ever noticed that whenever there's one mixed woman and she is successful and people think that she doesn't deserve that pedestal, they try to randomly bring another mixed woman into the mix. So they're bringing up Sade. Sade has nothing to do with go-go music. She sings a completely different style. She is in a completely different age category. She does like jazz style music. So what does that have to do with Amerie? Do you see the triangulation tactic there? This person says, I don't get Sade. I'm sorry. So now there's a third person coming in saying, actually, Sade ain't shit either. She doesn't deserve to have a career either. And notice how both Amerie and Sade, both of them have voices that do not fit the black stereotype. They don't fit the stereotype of having this super soulful, gritty, raspy, like gospel sounding voices. So now apparently you don't deserve to be in the spotlight. And this is why I say that anytime they bring up colorism, it's never about social justice. It's always about social status. Amerie doing a Tiny Desk performance on YouTube, for God's sakes, that is not a violation of anybody's civil rights. That is 100% pure social status. Oh, well, she got all these views. She's getting all the likes. She gets to have a channel about books and then leave the industry for 20 years, and she just gets to come back whenever she wants. And that's not fair, that she gets to have a stage whenever she wants. It's not fair that she has access to a spotlight whenever she wants it. So all of that is actually social status arguments. That's why I say anytime you hear them bring up colorism, do not believe them when they try to pretend like it's a civil rights issue, because they don't bring up civil rights. This person says, them goat-like vocals shock the hell out of me. I hate to be the one to say this, but it is a really easy song for any soprano to sing. It doesn't require whatever she thought she was trying to do. Somebody said, not a goat. Exactly. YouTube goats yelling. So have you noticed this trend where they're calling us MLS women? I've noticed they called us squawking birds, or they call us birds in general. And then whenever there's an MLS singer, they say that we sing like billy goats. Because remember, just a couple months ago, I covered Alicia Keys, and they were saying that she sings like a billy goat. So why is it that only light-skinned and mixed women sing like billy goats? And then if there's an MLS woman who does sound exactly like how a lot of unambiguous black singers sound, then they're going to accuse us of copying, saying, oh, she stole that. You know, she stole her sound from somebody else. She's copying so-and-so dark-skinned black woman. So it's like, if you sound exactly like every unambiguous woman, you're a copycat. And then if you sound different, you can't sing and you don't deserve to be there anyway because you don't sound black enough. This person said, whoa, yeah, Fantasia Tiny Desk for the win. So do you see how they're triangulating again? First, they triangulated her with Sade. That didn't work because they were like, no, Sade can't sing. Like, fuck Sade. And now you got another person saying Fantasia is actually their standard of what a good singer is. So that they just proved my point. You have to sing like a church auntie in order to be considered a good singer by unambiguous black women. That's the only way you're allowed to sing, according to them. You have to fit their internalized stereotype. You have to fit their cultural stereotype. You have to sing in the same way that they have sung in their culture. And so God forbid you sound different. God forbid you're multiracial or multicultural like Amerie and Sade, and you sound a little bit different than how they do. God forbid you grew up in a household where you're listening to multiple genres of music. This person says, aw, I like Amerie, but now I think I will stick to her book club. So basically saying, you can't sing, get out of the music industry. You just need to keep on reading books. So we got all these commenters. They're claiming that Amerie is like irrelevant to the industry, but it's like you're making videos about Amerie. You're making her more relevant again by talking about her. You're really going to make more people watch that Tiny Desk episode. And this is the common social climbing mistake that I talk about with unambiguous black women. They constantly make people famous that they don't like. So apparently they didn't like Amerie from the beginning, which I know is a lie, but it's like apparently they didn't like Amerie. Apparently they don't like Sade. And those women are not good enough in terms of vocals. And it's like, okay, if you guys are all such good vocalists and you guys are such musical experts, then where are your albums? Where's your album at? Hope-5372? Where's your album at then? And why is it that these women who claim to be knowledgeable about music, they sure don't know how to support the right people then? This person says, if we ever end racism and don't end colorism, nothing will change. The world will constantly be controlled by mediocre people. So now Amerie is controlling the world by doing her Tiny Desk performance. I can't take this seriously. So Amerie is now controlling the world because she did a Tiny Desk performance. Do you see how our pedestal is in the sky? So if you have a performance, if you leave the industry, Amerie only had what, 1 or 2 like good songs? But according to this person, Amerie is a part of a light-skinned conspiracy to control the world. So she's one of the mediocre people that they're talking about. And they do this with like every light-skinned person or every mixed race person. They'll be like, oh, well, you're mediocre because basically your voice doesn't sound black enough or you don't look black enough. So therefore you're mediocre, you know, because your skin's too light for me to call you gorgeous. You're too mixed looking for me to say you're beautiful. And your voice doesn't sound black enough. You sound too white. You sound too multicultural when you sing. Your style of music, it sounds more adjacent to non-black singers. And so, yeah, you don't sing black enough and you don't look black enough for me to give you credit. This person says, Amerie literally reads books on her YouTube channel for a living now. That's her bag. So I find it interesting that they're randomly bringing up her other business endeavors. Have you guys noticed this? Like I said, MLS women, oftentimes we are not just the standard of dating. Not only do people want to date us or create us, but we are also the standard of living because they constantly bring up our lifestyles just out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. They did this with Meghan Markle. They do this with women like Lori Harvey. And now you got somebody randomly bringing up Amerie's other streams of income. Oh, well, she reads books on her YouTube channel for a living now. That's her bag. Why are you tracking Amerie's bags? Why are you pocket watching? And why are you randomly commenting and wondering and wanting to start a discussion about her other streams of income? So it's almost as if some women are envious of the fact that we have options in life. Like we can use our quote unquote privilege. According to them, we can use our privilege to gain likes and followers on social media. Because remember, that's one of their main traumas. One of the rejection traumas that a lot of unambiguous women talk about is not feeling seen on social media. So it makes sense for this girl to randomly bring up, oh, well, Amerie reads books on her YouTube channel for a living now. Yeah, you sound mad because maybe you can't just read books on your YouTube channel for a living, according to you guys' own talking points. So notice how there's always this comparison. You know, how is this Blasian girl? How is she making money? And by the way, I do want to talk more about Blasian women specifically because I think that with each different type of exotical, there is a specific type of envy that woman faces. A lot of women in the Black community actually worship the Blasian phenotype in particular. Because think about it, you got kind of that eye shape or whatever that a lot of people view as exotic. You have kind of this youthful, rounded out face that's associated with the Asian community, and then the quote unquote good hair. So that's a whole other subject that we can talk about. But this girl's randomly bringing up what she does for a living. This person says, Amerie was never a singer. She was pitchy then, and she was pitchy there in that clip. Why some couldn't detect that when her songs came out puzzles me. With that said, Amerie is a pretty woman and got through the doors based on said looks, skin tone, and mixed ethnicity. Okay, so according to Black Butterfly 3364, not only is she an expert on the music industry, not only is she a world-class vocal coach that can tell who's pitchy and who's not, and you know the progression of Amerie's vocals over the past 20 years, not only is she that knowledgeable, but she's also saying that Amerie only got to where she is because of her looks, her skin tone, and her mixed ethnicity. So let's talk about skin tone because whenever unambiguous women are around us, they love telling us that we're not light-skinned. Oh, you're not even light-skinned. Oh, you're just brown. You know, basically if you're not white passing, according to these women, then you're not light-skinned. Amerie is not white passing. So notice the hypocrisy. They only say we're not light-skinned because they don't want to acknowledge our privilege. But whenever they're in their own communities where they don't think we are watching, they admit out of their mouth, oh, Amerie, you know, she has the looks, she has the skin tone, and she has the mixed ethnicity that the music industry likes. And it's hilarious because they love telling us like, oh, the white man won't accept you. Other communities don't accept you. But here you have in this comment, she's admitting that Amerie is accepted. based on 3 different factors: her looks, her skin tone, and her mixed ethnicity. So which one is it? Are we kicked out of the non-black side? Do non-black people hate us multiracial black women? Or are we accepted? Which one is it? So do you see how they're saying one thing to us, but then they say another thing amongst themselves? And also bringing up the fact of her being mixed race. I thought that the main valid way to be mixed race was only black and white. She is not half white. She's not a quarter white. She is Korean and African American. So what happened to that talking point of, oh, well, being mixed doesn't matter if you're not white passing. Being mixed race doesn't matter, especially if you're not mixed with white. What happened to that talking point? Looks like that's out the window too. Also saying that she got to where she is because of her looks. So are you admitting that Amory does in fact look different than a lot of unambiguous women? Because in real life, they tell Caribbean exoticals, so women who are mixed with black ancestry and Asian ancestry, maybe they're from the Caribbean or something. A lot of unambiguous women tell Caribbean women, like, oh, well, you don't look any different. You look just like a regular brown-skinned, unambiguous black woman. But behind closed doors, they're actually admitting, oh shit, actually no, like they do look different. And they're receiving privileges based on that difference. This person says, Rihanna is the perfect example of this. She sounded like a dying goat when she first came out, and although she sounded better later on in her music career, her vocals, performances, and so-called talent remained average at best. So here we go with the Billy Goat talking point again. So I'm pretty sure that at this point we can say that it is a running stereotype that us MLS women, that we look like birds, that we sing like billy goats. Because first they said Alicia Keys, she sings like a billy goat. They said Amerie sounds like a goat. And now they're saying Rihanna also sounds like a goat. What do they all have in common? These are all multiracial or light-skinned women. They're ambiguous black women whose singing voices don't sound black enough. I've noticed that if you don't sound gospel-y enough, aka if you don't sound black enough, if you don't sound adjacent to stereotypical black singing, then you sound like a billy goat. This person says, that's why I like her music though, because I as a regular person can sing her whole catalog just as well as she can. Somebody else says, if not better. So I wanted to highlight this comment because it's very interesting. They're actually admitting that they enjoy seeing MLS women who are not that good of singers because it makes them feel like they have a one-up on them. Like, oh, I'm more talented than her. So I like Rihanna's music because I can sing her whole catalog just as good as her, if not better. That's why I like her, because I'm better than her at singing. So it makes me feel good to know that I'm talented, or that I'm more talented than this light-skinned, green-eyed, mediocre billy goat singer, Rihanna. It makes me feel good to know that I can sing her whole catalog just as good as her. So do you see how, once again, they're proving that they believe that we are their standard, okay? We're their standard of beauty, standard of dating, and also standard of living. Now you can say we're also the standard of talent, apparently. So they like being able to compare themselves and do a better job. They're saying that, hey, I surpassed the standards of the music industry because I can sing better than Rihanna. And it's like, okay, if everybody in the black community is suddenly Whitney Houston, if all of you guys are suddenly the most talented, best singers in the world, where are all of you guys' albums, and where's the support for all the unambiguous black women who are such good singers? And they're talking shit about Amerie. Amerie is similar to like a Kelly Rowland. Kelly Rowland, Normani, these women have very light voices. They don't have the most gritty, most soulful, gospel-sounding voices. So I don't see them talking shit about them. I don't see them saying that Kelly sounds like a billy goat or that Normani sounds like a billy goat. This person said, I would love to know your thoughts on Nivea and Brooke Valentine, both saying that in the early 2000s, they were asked to go to tanning beds because they were too light to be R&B girls. So I had to screenshot this. I'm going to research this, and if I find any info on this, I want to do a video because that's very interesting if that is the case, because I thought that nobody was light-skinned all of a sudden. Ever since the Exotical space came out, Beyonce's not light-skinned, Rihanna's not light-skinned, nobody's light-skinned unless you're white passing. But you've got a person here, once again, when they think that we are not watching, when they think that we're not listening to them, you have unambiguous women admitting that they believe that women like Nivea and Brooke Valentine were considered light. So they're proving my talking point, which is that skin tone is actually subjective based on where you're from, who you're around, what you're comparing that person to. I mean, we already voted on what we consider light skin on this channel, but I thought that was interesting, so I wanted to put that in here. Right underneath that comment, you have somebody that says, A. Marie isn't light-skinned. She's just brown, or most suitably, dark-skinned. So A. Marie, not only is she not light-skinned, she's dark-skinned. She is the standard for what a dark skin tone is. So my question is, if A. Marie is dark-skinned, what does that make Lupita Nyong'o? Because if I were to start saying that people Lupita Nyong'o's color are just super, super dark, they're just blue-black, you guys would call that colorist. But here you are making A. Marie the standard for dark skin. So once again, this proves that we are their standard. Okay, so now we are also the standard for dark skin. So standard of dating, standard of living. They're tracking our sources of income. And now, A. Marie, she is now the face of the dark skin community as well. This person says, her skin is like Tyla's and Halle Berry's. Oh, okay, so they're also dark skinned as well. Tyla and Halle Berry are now dark skinned. Okay, so not only have we replaced black women as a whole, but we have also replaced dark-skinned women. Okay, so Tyla, Halle Berry, A. Marie, they're all dark-skinned according to this woman. And she says, her skin is like Tyla and Halle Berry's and some Native Americans and Indians. Not light at all. Okay, so now Native Americans and Indians, they are also dark-skinned. So the standard for dark-skinned blackness is now mixed race people, Native Americans, and Indians. So black people are no longer the standard for their own communities at all, according to this person's comment. And then she said, just brown. Yellow-colored skin like Doja Cat's, Trevor Noah's, Meghan Markle's, and Cardi B's skin is light skin. Okay, so she upholds the paper bag test. That's what she's admitting here. Because Doja Cat, Trevor Noah, Meghan Markle, Cardi B, those are skin complexions that pass the paper bag test, or sometimes they're called high yellow. So I don't want to hear anything else about calling the Exotical space colorist when you are saying that not only do dark-skinned black people not get to represent their own skin tones, but you're also upholding the paper bag test. So who's the real colorist? Is it the Exoticals or is it people in their own community? This girl says, she is on the Cassie and Ashanti spectrum of singing and performing. No offense, I was surprised she agreed to do this. So notice how she's grouping her in with other MLS women that she considers to be not talented. She didn't say she's on the Normani or Kelly Rowland spectrum of singing. No, she specifically named people who had a similar phenotype, saying, oh, she's with the other mediocre Exoticals. And especially Cassie, who's also Blasian as well. Like, she's like Cassie. She's like that other Blasian girl. And these are the same women who love rocking a Blasian phenotype. They'll do their eyeliner so that their eyes look more adjacent to a lot of Blasian women. They will be bumping Janae Aiko on their R&B playlist, who is Blasian. They enjoy the soulful vocals of women like her, who is also Blasian. They talk about how Saweetie, the rapper, thinks she's all that because she's pretty and light-skinned. Meanwhile, they're simultaneously trying to look like her. Saweetie is Blasian. They try to look like darker-skinned mixed women, such as Tatiana Ali and Chili from TLC. Both of those women are Blasian. So do you see the internalized jealousy that could be there? So this is why some people say that it's jealousy, because you're admiring that phenotype, you admire that person, you liked their music enough to make them famous and to make them a legendary person in the go-go music space. But then you turn around and try to say, oh, actually, no, you're just mediocre. Okay, well, if they're all so mediocre, then why are you trying to look like them? Why are you worried about how they sound? Why even watch The Tiny Desk? Why even watch their performance if you think that she's not relevant anyway? Why even watch it? Why talk about it? Oh, because actually Blasian women are a part of your beauty standard, and you admit that they have privilege in the black community and in the music industry. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Are you Blasian? If you do have a Blasian background, you're black and Korean, maybe you're black and Japanese, maybe you have a black and Indian background, comment down below. What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.